Hello, my friends. How are you feeling? How are you feeling? So, I am going to discuss something that came up for me yesterday, and I really think that it will be helpful to you because as men, we do not talk about many of the things that occur for us because we think that it is something that as a man we just carry and move about and go on with our life with. And we don't necessarily need to honor it, talk about it, because that should be normal. I should be able to handle that. Well, here's what I'm going to unbox for you today. I had something come up for me yesterday, and I'm going to set the stage for you. Yesterday was my daughter's birthday, my daughter's 8th birthday, my youngest. And many of you already know I am in a blended family. So I take my youngest daughter, who came from a previous marriage that I had, previous family, and my wife that I am currently with, her daughter from a previous marriage as well. And there are all sorts of little nuances that come with us and all sorts of little things that come from the other relationships. And there are things that simultaneously exist in this relationship that don't exist in other relationships, say ones that have never split, ones that have had parents that have stayed together, ones that have had their parents stay together, grandparents stay together. And there are little things that you begin to grasp as time goes on where you go, okay, I've got to deal with that myself within my own frame. I've got to figure out what that is. And that is okay. That is entirely okay. So I'll set the stage. Yesterday, I had a roaring of sadness come through for me. I had this deep feeling come through where I just couldn't get right. I couldn't feel the happiness my daughter's birthday, and it was just eating at me. And I knew it was all mine. I knew it was all mine because it had nothing to do with her. And I tested those things. I tested, is this feeling occurring because of my daughter and some sort of jealousy that I had? Is this coming about because anger that I have inside of me? Is this coming about because there's some sort of issue that is still attached to some self-worth? And I started feeling into that a little bit because that started coming through. And what it was, when I figured out what it was, here's what I deduced from this. I was able to come about this within myself, all on my own, and it was the feeling that on that day, yesterday, June 24th, my daughter, she came into this world and forever changed my life. And you might go, oh, okay, wow, Jesse, our kids change our lives. That's not a thing. Yeah, but here's the thing. I felt it. That emotion finally caught up to me, and I felt it. And it was one of probably many that I will still feel yet. And it was a grievance. It was me grieving a bit of my past, because on that day, yesterday, my daughter's birthday, when she came into this world 8 years ago, my life forever changed, but it changed for the better. And it marked for me a huge, I would say, a polarity shift from the life that I didn't want onto a new trajectory where I started to feel like, well, I became a dad. I became something other than what I felt I was being. And all the while, I hadn't changed physically. But what I was doing inside was I was changing. I was feeling needed. I was feeling like there is something in this world, someone in this world, someone that just came into this world that would need me. And I get it. You'd say, well, your spouse. What about your spouse at that time? And what it was this connection that I felt with this being that I never met before and just began to meet at that time. I had already loved, and it took my daughter to be able to show me that connection of which I didn't have with myself. See, that's it. I did not have that connection with myself, and she showed me a connection to her. And she also showed me the life that I was living was not the life that I wanted to live. And her birthday marks as a huge shift in my life. And the emotion caught up to me yesterday. And something else happened in tandem. My wife, my current wife, was upset because her daughter is graduating grade 6. My other daughter. And we've been working hard to set up this whole new trajectory for us within wellness and doing what she's doing now. And she felt like she wasn't prepared for what was going on with her. And she also felt like that I had somehow disconnected from her, and she wasn't a part of what she wasn't included within the plans that, or the things that I was doing for my youngest. And it was none of that at all. And what we just saw in each other when we started expressing really how we felt and what was going on, was I was able to see within her that she was a wonderful mother. I was able to see in her and be able to support her and to let her know that all of what I was feeling had no bearing on her being excluded from any plans that I was making for my youngest. And there was no detachment from our oldest. There was no detachment from that. It was just all these realizations where our kids' growth is reminding us of stages in our life. It is reminding us of the connection that we have with them, and the proper attachment with the healthy attachment with our children is so important. So she was transitioning through something different than I was, but you see, when you don't talk about these things, I love you, honey. We don't talk about these things, we tend to think that our spouse is sabotaging something, or is, and unconsciously, or they're deliberately doing something to exclude us. And it has nothing to do with that. It is when you start talking about, when you start communicating what is going on and how you're feeling, you start to realize, oh, you are dealing with things that are different from what I'm dealing with at the same time. And we just need to talk about these things so that we can support one another through whatever we're going through. Instead of creating a story and resenting the other person, thinking all the while that they're excluding me, they're not inviting me, they don't want me to do this with them, or how dare they come up with this gift for our kids and I didn't get any say in it. And it has nothing to do with any of that. It has nothing to do with it. And I think as spouses, as men, I think what we do is we tend to be a little selfish sometimes, thinking that it is all about us. It is The reason why that person is acting the way they're acting is because it's about us. And it has nothing to do with us. It has everything to do with ourselves. So, here's where I want to end. I want you to know two things. I want you to know that many of the things that you are going through right now are not permanent. They're temporary. These feelings are temporary. And you choose to feel this way. You choose to feel happy, or you choose to feel sad or angry. It's up to you. You make the choice. So choose wisely. And the second is, when you harbor resentment, or when you create a story about somebody else, and you haven't communicated what you feel, it's quite possible that the other person is feeling something similar. And one of you needs to take a leap of faith and open up the conversation. Because it's probably something entirely different than you were thinking. And it's so important that you do that. So important that you understand your spouse, significant other, partner. Because this is where it goes off the rails. And this is where you start gradually growing apart because you haven't communicated how you feel and what you want. It's so important. So important to do that. I appreciate you all. I'm looking forward to hearing your comments and your feedback. I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say about this. This was difficult for me to talk about because it's something very personal. It's something very sacred. But I chose to talk about it because I know there is at least one of you out there, or many, that are having struggles like this. And if I can do it, if I can show you that I can talk about it, that it gives you some hope that you can do it too at some point, whenever you choose. Talk to you soon. Let's do this.